All right, fellow babies. I'm actually able to count now. Welcome back to Pachter Factor, episode 101. So I can toss my 100 glasses. Shockingly, we're still drinking the same Scotch. It's amazing how that works. So episode 101, we are really happy if you've stuck with us for 100 episodes. If you're watching on YouTube for free, good for you. That's value created without any payment. The only thing I ask back is follow me at Michael Pachter on Twitter. And you got to follow my good friend Marcus at AnnoyedGamer on Twitter.
And follow SIFTD.
And yeah, follow SIFTD. Then you'll actually know when the Pachter Factor is on.
Know what? He has never said that.
Because I didn't follow SIFTD. Now I'm going to. Yeah, we need to follow SIFTD, SIFTD on Twitter. If you're not watch us on YouTube, we appreciate your patronage via Patreon for SIFTD.net. Anything you can afford is appreciated. Shane had to actually rent this boat for me, and so it's really costing him a lot of money to get this episode filmed. We got an extra crew member, everything going on. All right, so let's get to our
only stretches to 2 bottles of Scotch, God damn it.
Yeah, so 2 bottles.
I'm sorry, was this amateur hour? I mean, seriously.
We could have more.
Yeah, and where's my fluffer?
Our first question for episode 101 comes from Twitter, from @Stringer2355. What do you think of Microsoft leaving the E3 show floor? Look, I think E3 is better when it's all in one place and everybody's together. I think EA did the industry a disservice when it decided to have a fan event off-site. I think EA should go back on the show floor. I think Microsoft should stay on the show floor. I think if anybody wants their own place, the convention center is a big hall, but there's I don't know if it's called West Hall and North Hall or Main Hall. Anyway, there's 2 big halls, and then down underground there's something called Kentia Hall, which is where I first saw Guitar Hero in 2005. And actually, when I saw a line of like 500 people to play Guitar Hero, I went, this thing might be a thing. So EA could go there, Microsoft could stay on the show floor. I think it's unhealthy for guys to be off-site. I'll give Microsoft credit. They own a piece of real estate called the Microsoft Theater. I'm sure they don't own it. I'm sure they just put their name on it. But it used to be the Nokia Theater. So they own the Microsoft Theater, and they're just hosting their event in the Microsoft Theater. So I guess it's right next door. I think EA could have their fan show on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then open up the show floor for investors and game developers and E3 credential people, and that would be fine. I just think both of them are cheapening the show by moving off-site. Imagine if everybody moves off-site, we would have no E3 anymore.
Michael, I respectfully disagree.
Go! I'm
going to disagree with one aspect. I don't blame Microsoft for pissing off the Microsoft Theater because they have the real estate, as you said. They've signed this, this licensing agreement for this big ass thing that they can have for 3 or 4 days, and they don't have to pay the extortionate, $4, $5, $6 million, and that's a very conservative estimate for the booth space on the show floor. And I don't blame EA for pissing off last year either. I blame the ESA for mismanaging E3. The E3 has gone from a sweet spot recently of about 12, 13, 14, where it was industry people. It was a lot tighter. There was a little bit of pizzazz, but there wasn't too much. And it had certainly, not reached the nadir of 2005, 2006, and then the disaster of 2007 that was Santa Monica. I mean, the 2 years after that slowly picked themselves back up. And then, like I said, 11, 12, 13, good sweet spot. The last 2 or 3 years, E3 has become bloated. It's become, it's just basically a one big wank show. And now the advent of letting Joe Public in. And look, I know Joe Public, you're watching this show and you're like, well, I want to pay for my pass to go to E3, and I want to go in my Pikachu onesie, and I want to stand there and get a Call of Duty 12 t-shirt while jerking off over a Wii U emulator on my Switch. Well, it's like, no disrespect, you do not need to be at the show. Nothing but love for you guys, but you don't need to be at the show. We have dice. We have packs. We have 3 paxes. We have 4 paxes. We've got more paxes than Pachters. We have all these paxes that people can go to. We have Comic-Con, we have Gen Con, we have WonderCon.
And I'll give them an ad. Play NYC is starting up this year, and that had like 2,000 people last year. It'll probably be 10 this year.
Yeah.
But that's actually going to be a show.
So there's all these other shows where people can go to. E3 was about business, it was about media. The media would come in, we'd play the games, and we'd bugger off. The business people would come in, we'd make the deals, and it would be somewhat of a jolly, but it was not extortionately expensive. It's now a waste of money, especially with Gamescom Germany coming a couple of weeks later. And everybody says, oh, look, Gamescom Germany, they let the people in, so that must work. Well, Gamescom do it for the 2 days at the end of the week. They don't have everybody in from day one. Last year, E3 was a scrum of unmitigated disastrous proportions. 2 guys had a fist fight at the Nintendo booth over a friggin' Mario bag. That's the level of pond life that are getting through the door now. And let's talk about the smell. I did a Worst of E3 a while back for Annoyed Gamer, and I said that Axe should really consider sponsoring E3 because it was a little bit whiffy, because people were sneaking in who had no place to be there. Last year, I needed a gas mask. Couldn't get near any of the booths. Never mind the queues, it was the wall of smell. It was just ridiculous because people are coming, they're on a budget. 20 of them are staying at a hotel room in South Central. We've got a Motel 6 room with 12 people because we can't afford to do anything else other than eat Wendy's for 3 days straight. 1 shower per person per week. Our clothes are not getting changed because we'll get free t-shirts. And it's basically a fucking disaster. And the problem lies at the ESA. And obviously, it's hyperbole, and I'm making jokes for fun. But the ESA needs to tighten up regulations. Stop the kids coming in. Stop the gamers coming in. Stop the gougers coming in. Get people in who are there to do business. Streamline the show. Put booth sides back in space. Put in place. Put noise limitations back in place. It's a cacophonous wreck. Or the alternative is just say, you know what, we're just in it for the money. Industry people don't bother going anymore. We're just going to let people in and see how dead E3 gets when the games companies fuck off within 3 years. Because if it's E3 will not make it to 2021 in its current format unless the ESA pulls their thumbs out their asses and stop acting like bitches.
So my happy medium, which is everybody comes back under the tent, and the 2 alternatives for a happy medium. Either you have the fan show Saturday, Sunday, Monday before E3, or you have the fan show Friday, Saturday after E3.
After E3.
Or, so you either wedge it so the fans aren't there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday when industry people are, or instead of E3 ending at 6 p.m., keep it open till 10 and open the doors to the fans at 4.
Do you know how many people in the industry want to kill you right now?
But the people in the industry would be just the people manning the booth.
Yeah, exactly. Those poor bastards have been on the booth all day, right, and then the security.
So instead, you bring twice as many people to man the booth, and you have...
Take Microsoft, Sony, EA, and everybody else who's having a pre-E3 showcase, party, whatever, bring them into line to make sure it's all coordinated. Start E3 at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Tell Nintendo to get with the Sunday, Monday program. E3 starts on a Tuesday morning.
So, just to summarize,
Marcus
and I are on the same page. We agree that there should be a fan presence as long as it doesn't interfere with the business presence or the developer presence. And there's a way to coordinate that either days before, during, in the evening, or days after. But there's a way to do it. And I think integrating the two is just a mess.
I know why you want to do the evening thing. I've seen the sushi bill for your party.
Yes.
You need to get that down by 50%. You want this poor bastard to work.
I'm not kidding. You know, the food bill at my party is $70,000. We eat $70,000 worth of food. It is fucking crazy.
But
anyway,
it's good sushi.
I pretty much don't eat either.
I don't even eat at that party.
Well, you've never been, but you're coming this year.
I've been to one.
Never.
When's the one?
You know, you've never been to an E3 party. You're coming this year. You're coming this. You've been to CES.
Yeah, you can come and hang out with Shona.
We have a. I did to answer Ed Boone from last episode. I do have a CES party, but hardly anybody goes to CES. Anyway, that's not why. The thing that cracks me up is at E3, it's every once in a while I'll have a meeting on the show floor at 10, and the doors open at 10. So you got to get in there. And I'll walk up at 9:45, waiting for the door open, and I'm like 900th in line behind the fans the last couple of years.
It's
and
just
the door
unmanageable.
The good news, though, with these 900 fans is they all run. They sprint. So I'm actually through the door by 10 o'clock and 20 seconds because all 900 of them dissipate to go stand in line to try out the Switch or play Mario, or this year be to play Smash Brothers.
Which is actually a really good example of how earthquake-proof the LA Convention Center is, because those 900 fat fuckers at full. I mean, seriously,
that's worse than you and me on the
it's
same
like
bed, right?
Yeah, it's like the wildebeest stampeding. And I take the piss. But you know what? You've no right to be there.
You know, I got to say, it's a good thing that our president doesn't play video games, because when he was talking about the hacker being some 400-pound guy in his bedroom in his underwear,
what, the Russian hacker?
Yeah, but he doesn't actually understand like gamers.
You don't say.
Fellow babies, next question from SIFTD from Kevin O, which I think is Kevin O, but it could be Kevino. I'm going to call him Kevin O. At this year's GDC, there were discussions of momentum building for game developers to unionize. Yeah, I did see that. That was pretty freaky. What are your thoughts on this? What is the likelihood we see this happen? You know, I've actually answered this, I think probably in a pack attack in the past. Like, I think unions exist to keep workers safe, to ensure that workers get a fair wage. And so to the extent that there is such a thing as game developers who are oppressed and aren't being paid a fair wage, sure, I think a union's fine. The problem is that most game developers make a good living. So that the developer, not the code writers, make $100,000. I mean, they make good money. The graphic artists make less, more like 60 or 70. The game testers make $15 an hour. So, you know, sure, the guys who don't get paid very much, unions, that's fine. The problem is that the reason for these different pay levels is if you make $100,000, that's because you're really good and you're in demand, and that's what it takes to hire you. If you make $15 an hour, that's because you're replaceable and they get somebody else. So I don't know that a union would help, because I think most game developers would go non-union if that in fact happened.
I don't think the argument for unionization is based on pay scales, because we appreciate that if you are Todd Howard level, or if you are a lead animator on Call of Duty, you get paid the same amount as a tester. I think basically it's been put forward to counter crunch, because crunch is crippling the games industry. And I've worked at enough publishers over the years where I've seen the damage that crunch does. And even, you know, small developers, big developers, these guys are working 15, 20 hours a day. They're sleeping under their desks, and it's not a question of the remuneration they get, because, you know, again, it's work for hire, which in America is a thing, and I think in California in particular. So they don't get royalties or anything like that, but they do get a good wage. But the standard of living, or the quality of life, is causing them to burn out really, really quickly, which leads to a high turnover. And I've seen people who have, basically slept overnight. The only food they get is when, Panda Express delivers the nightly dinner, and everybody's lining up, and then they're going back to work till 12 again, and they don't see their kids for weeks on end, and they're pulling this 5 or 6 or even 7 days a week in the build up to crunch, because people have to hit a deadline that was set 4 years out, because the announcement cycle in the games industry is broken.
All right, so with that said, I don't think a union fixes that, because as long as the publishers are public companies and they provide a release date, they're going to have to hit it. And crunch happens in order to hit the release date. Obviously, if you think about a game and you say it's 3 years to develop and there's 200 people working on it, so 600 man years, the crunch comes because it's not 600 man years, it's 650 or 7, and they have to put that extra 50 man years in the last 8 weeks to get it out, and everybody's working 24/7.
But it's not just that. It's not just that last 6 weeks. And again, I talk from experience here. It's to get an E3 build out. It's to get a Microsoft presentation out.
Yeah.
It's to get an alpha, beta.
That's not going to change.
Whatever.
So if the union says, okay, these guys can't work longer, then what happens? The game misses? Well, not going to happen. So they're still going to work the hours. The union's just going to say, if you work 20 hours a day, you need to get paid, $300 an hour, and it just becomes more costly. And I guess that works, but they're still going to work the hours.
Oh, I think what will happen is if unionization takes place, they'll just go to China.
Right.
90% of the development will be done out of China.
Let's substitute China and make it Canada. So that's what will happen. So the point is that if they unionize, I think the jobs will disappear. I think you're right. And the crunch is going to happen, and it's going to be foreigners crunching instead of domestic.
I'm a big proponent of unions for the right reasons.
Me too.
I think they also end up, unfortunately, being misused
a lot. I'm a huge proponent of unions for safety. So you want the workers to be safe no matter what. And I think
mentally as well as physically.
And fair pay. I mean, I think that's really important. I just think the games industry, by and large, pays fairly, and I get that crunch is deemed to be unhealthy, unsafe from a mental health perspective, but I don't know how you get around this unless owners of companies are willing to accept that games don't take 3 years to make; they take 4.
Well,
and so you have companies like Take-Two that actually put their games out. Take-Two, Blizzard, both put their Rockstar, Blizzard put their games out when they're ready.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think there's crunch time at Rockstar. I think they have it just like everybody else. They just don't make games very often. It takes them 8 years. But you don't think they're crunching on Red Dead right now?
I'm sure they have a level of crunch, but I'm sure it's not quite the nuclear level that you hear about at Activision, at Ubisoft, EA, where it is abysmal. And I would also say that maybe companies need to start moving dev teams out of expensive parts of the world, which would mean a lot of dev jobs leaving California, for example,
or leaving
New York.
That's essentially why Visceral closed.
Yeah,
I mean, Visceral,
who can run a dev studio in San Francisco?
Yeah, notwithstanding their quality of games, I mean, they were very expensive, and so much easier to move those jobs to Vancouver and Montreal because there's a tax subsidy and there's a way that they can hire people more cheaply.
Send them to Ohio.
Well,
I mean,
Austin.
Keep those jobs in America.
I'm with you, but Canada is aggressively courting them.
But also, crunch is obviously not just an American thing. It is a European thing. It's a Canadian thing. It is everywhere. It's inherent in the industry. And it does mean that companies need to start planning a little bit better and having upper management who are willing to listen to the people at the coalface. Because there are obviously upper management and creators who are people who work at these studios and publishers who have been creators and understand what goes into it. And then there's also a bunch of nippleheads who are basically corporate assholes who have no clue about video games, who've come from Pepsi, who've come from Kentucky Fried Chicken or some other, Esso or whatever, and they really just don't have a clue. And the more people we have who have a clue at the top, who know what it's like, the better it will get. But I feel for a lot of my dev friends who are in crunch all the time, and it's just ridiculous.
So I think in conclusion, we both think unions to protect worker mental health is a good idea. And we both agree that if they were to happen in the U.S., the jobs would leave the U.S. because the employers don't want to deal with unions. Our next question comes from SIFTD, from Sleeping Psychologist. There have been recent concerns about privacy. I just wrote a 12-page memo on this. And how our personal data may be used and sold based on the Facebook and Cambridge Analytica controversy. How cautious or concerned should we be with game companies like Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, considering the large amount of data they can collect from us, such as app usage, browser history, etc.? Do you think they'd do anything with this data? Yeah, 100% they do. And, it's funny. I was talking to Take-Two, and the Take-Two guys were not being nefarious about this at all. I mean, they were being completely upfront about it. But they were like, we think Red Dead's going to do really well because we know who's playing Grand Theft Auto 5. And so we can target those guys and we can explain to those guys why this is a great game from the same, same division, Rockstar, that created your favorite game. And so we think we can drive audience. And that's cool. And I got to say, if you play GTA 5, you want to know about Red Dead. I mean, obviously you want to hear about it. So it's like, that's a welcome use of data because you're already a customer, you're already a fan, and they're going to target you. If you're on Facebook and, let's just say that you're in your 20s and you're a gamer, it's a pretty high likelihood that you like Red Bull or Pepsi or Burger King. And so Facebook, if they can figure out you're a gamer and you're in your 20s, they're going to help those advertisers target you with Red Bull or Pepsi or Burger King. And those are the kinds of things that 20-year-old guys consume. So, of course, they're going to want our Axe deodorant.
Why did you look at me?
You said Axe on the...
Oh, okay, because I don't use Axe
you said Axe. You said Axe.
I don't use Axe anymore.
Yeah. So Axe should sponsor the gamers. So the point is that you accept that your data is going to be accessed when you're on Facebook. You should accept your data is going to be accessed when you're on an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Switch. And so the real problem with Cambridge Analytica isn't that the data was used, because if you put on your Facebook profile, I'm a Republican, you should expect to get a Trump ad. And if you put on I'm a Democrat, you should expect to get a Hillary ad. And the Cambridge Analytica use was just like anti-Hillary to Democrats to get you to think maybe you won't vote for, pro-Trump to Republicans. You should expect that stuff if it's voluntary. Facebook probably would have sold that data anyway. It's just the only controversy is Cambridge Analytica got it and it wasn't sold to them. So I don't think that this misuse is that unwanted if it's about you and it's stuff you voluntarily provided to the site in the first place? And I don't think you as a gamer care if somebody figures out that you drink Red Bull or eat Burger King. So the answer is yes, the data is used all the time. Yes, I guess if you're a private person, you want it protected and you don't want it used, you should restrict who has access to your data to the extent you can, but accept that it's going to be used because that's capitalism, that's a profit deal.
I would say just get smart. Get smart with your permissions. Get smart with what you like, what you can share. The reason that Rockstar knows that all these people like me are playing Grand Theft Auto Online and having a blast with it, and we'll love Red Dead because we're putting so much time into Rockstar Social Club, is because they have an email. So I would say create an email that you use just for these signups. And
I have that, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's Big Dick Donkey Lover 36. Okay, yeah, because I'm 38.
Mine's Dong Lover.
Okay.
Dong Lover.
Okay, that was funny.
But also just, when you're on Facebook, be smart about what you like, be smart about your permissions. Go in and see when you go to a website to see what you would look like as a person of the opposite sex, or to see what you would look like at the age of 48, or if you were going to be in Gryffindor, or you were going to be what you would look like as a chicken, and you say, oh, I don't want to put my email in, I'm going to use the login using Facebook button, you're basically saying, hi there, come on in, take all my information for free, and in return I'll get this stupid, absolutely idiotic fucking picture of me like a chicken, and all my friends will see it. Oh, and guess what? I'm selling their information too. So, just be smart. Back to you, Michael.
That, I'm with you. Like I said, I think we opt into all this stuff, and I think the answer to your question is, it's incumbent upon the places you visit that have your information to give you the opportunity to opt in to have your data used. The default should be that they can't use your data unless you allow permission. So it's incumbent upon them to give you a choice. And if you don't want your data used, it should not be used. And if you're willing to opt in and say yes, it is used. I mean, I ask this question sincerely of all the people watching this. How many of you have ever read the terms of service on your iPhone every time you update iOS? Because I think I'm on like 11.3.1 or something. I've probably done it 40 times. There's 47 pages. I printed it once just as a goof, and I couldn't read the whole thing.
Human Centipad. This Human Centipad episode of South Park. It's a cautionary tale, people. You might end up with your mouth sewn to my ass.
Are you gonna leave? Our last question this week from SIFTD from NeoJD. After Ninja, a Fortnite streamer, yes, I know who he is.
Tyler Blevins.
Live stream with Drake, a rapper, yes, I know who he is too. It's really a crack up.
I thought Drake was a male duck.
Did you see? Do you follow Crescente on Twitter?
Yes.
So Crescente said he was at the airport and this kid recognized his Fortnite shirt, wanted to know where he got it, and he goes, well, I work for Rolling Stone. And the kid's like, what's Rolling Stone? It's like he knew what Fortnite was, but he didn't know what Rolling Stone was. So, and I was like, same, like I know what Fortnite is.
Hashtag bitch we old.
Isn't that funny? But it's like this guy's telling me that Ninja is a Fortnite streamer and Drake is a rapper, although he's actually more of a singer. I mean, he does a little bit.
I think he's more of an all-round entertainer.
He's a crossover,
given his acting.
So I know so much about Drake that I actually went to his bar, his restaurant bar in Toronto 2 weeks ago. You know he's Jewish.
Isn't he half Jewish?
Yeah, but that counts.
My wife's half Jewish.
There you go. It was reported that his monthly income is at least $500,000. Did you ever imagine that game streaming could be so lucrative? Where do you see the streamer influencer market headed? First of all, Ninja's entertaining and good and smart, and God bless him. He deserves every penny he makes.
He's not PewDiePie. Point being that Ninja
is getting sponsored.
Ninja's also not as perhaps smarmy as that other individual.
Ninja's fun.
He's just a genuine bloke, and I think
he's great at it. And he's great at playing. Anyway, did I ever imagine that it could be so lucrative? If you described it to me once Twitch became a thing, yeah, of course. Like I always figured somebody would monetize that and would monetize it well. The opportunity to make money, on our planet is immense. If you can get people to buy whatever you produce, that you will get paid. I don't make $500,000 a month, but I do okay because I have people who buy what I create. And I'm a knowledge worker. I give people knowledge. They pay me for it. Ninja essentially gives you knowledge and entertainment. He shows you how to do things in Fortnite, and he's really good. And I mean, he's apparently like really, really good. I heard Drake was pretty good though. I only watched a replay of it.
But I think Drake makes more than 500K a month.
Not from Fortnite, but maybe someday.
If he gets good, if he practices, it's something he can aspire to.
I will say that the best thing about this, though, where do I see the streaming influencer market headed? I think the most interesting thing, and it is your question, it's the interplay between Drake and Ninja. That Ninja is a celebrity only to people who watch Fortnite. Drake is a celebrity to the masses because he makes amazing music and he's a nice looking guy and he's got a good attitude and clean cut good guy. So his wealth is well deserved. I think you're going to get crossover. I think you're going to get celebrities who figure out that this gaming thing is real and that they want to participate. And there are so many celebrities who are really, really into gaming. I think that what Epic has decided to do at E3, which is host a Pro-Am, celebrity battle royale for Fortnite. I actually asked Nick Chester if they were going to run this during my E3 party and screwed up, and he goes, nope, late at night. So I think they're going to start at like 9 or 10 p.m. and run it at at midnight.
So when we're in bed.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's
not
really
with each
cool.
other.
Yeah, not this time. Yeah, I think that's really cool. So I frankly think you are going to just get gaming to be much, much more of a crossover mainstream activity. It's mainstream now, but it's like, there are people who know who Drake is and who are interested in what Drake is doing, whether that's, consuming some product that you like Burger King or Red Bull. I don't know who his sponsorships are, or playing games. And so this is like an unpaid sponsorship for Fortnite. It's great for the brand, great for the industry, and so that's where I see it headed.
There's been a rash of sports stars from around the world doing Fortnite celebrations when they score a goal or a basket or whatever. So now they've actually been doing the Fortnite celebration emotes. And look, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, I'd be in the same boat as you. If you asked me 5 years ago, I'd be in the same boat as you. If you ask me now, I would say I still don't get why people want to watch somebody play a video game. And look, I mean, these guys, I get that these guys are entertaining. So, it really is the ultimate in color commentary. But to me still, I mean, look, I get bored watching myself play a video game. But then I'm not as good as these guys. So I still don't get it. But I think I'm just of that mindset. Had I been born perhaps 30 years later, these would be my rock and roll gods now. And that would, and that's more power to them. It's evolving. The way the world is going is, the entertainment segment is going. And when it's people like Ninja who are genuinely good blokes, give me 100 ninjas doing really well. Give me 100 ninjas in general, because I think that would just be awesome to have. But you then can, you compare those to perhaps some of the people, such as the reigning trending gamer of last year. If it's good people, making people happy, enjoying themselves, and making money, I'm all for it. When it's douchebags doing it, just for controversy or just to make a buck with no love in it, they can kiss my ass.
Yeah, but my point is, I think it's like golf or like racing, where if you drive, then you appreciate what race car drivers do. If you golf, you appreciate what golfers do. And so we have Pro-Am golf tournaments, and so we'll see like a celebrity play. It used to be the Bob Hope tournament or whatever. And, the president plays golf. I mean, people watch because they play. People watch racing because they drive. And so I think that people who play Fortnite love watching other people play.
It's a generational thing. It really is. It's one of those true generational things that makes me realize, yes, I am 50 in 2 years' time. Whereas, I've got nephews who watch these guys and have a lot of fun doing it. Whereas I grew up actually playing the games on, 8-bit and not even 8-bit 48K computers. And I think that's the way it's changed. And I suppose part of me is jealous that there's this whole new generation coming through and doing things that with our pastime, but that became our profession, that we couldn't have imagined doing 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I'm a little bit jealous, but I'm just loving the way it's going.
Me too.
I still don't get it though.
Okay, that's it for this week's Pachter Factor. We'll have a Scotch lesson in a minute, but thank you for joining us on SIFTD.net, and if you are a Patreon patron, Shane appreciates it. Appreciate it if you guys can donate whatever you can afford to keep this going so we can actually be out on the water and enjoy ourselves. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for the free view. You're paying nothing for it, so the price of admission is a follow on Twitter for @MichaelPachter, @AnnoyedGamer,
@SIFTD.
and @SIFTD. Thanks again for viewing, and we will see you next week. All right, so little Scotch lesson. So this is my favorite Scotch in the world. This is Bruichladdich Black Art, bottled in 1992. Actually, not bottled, put in a cask in 1992. It's 24-year-old, so it was bottled in 2016, aged 24 years. I've got to read this to you. The enigmatic arts of the distiller are shrouded by meager facts. There are dark secrets within, and marking the passage of time alone bestows insufficient heft. Through these burdened hands, great oak and steadfast principles pass. High art, complex and mysterious, is revealed only to those who see stars. This
It's a cool bottle.
This is the best whiskey in the world. It doesn't get any better than this. Unpeated Islay single malt Scotch whiskey. It is the best. That's probably the sign of the devil. I apologize for that. We'll try not to be devilish. This is for real, my favorite whiskey. And I'm going to have Marcus let me know if the bottle's gone bad. Look at that color.
That's a generous pour, Michael.
You can have as much as you want. I'm just making it easy.
No, I'm just saying that's a generous pour.
We can't waste a drop.
So can I make some sort of crack about this?
Tell
is
me.
the only time I'll taste the 24-year-old.
Well, no,
now and the next time I die.
If you come to E3, you're going to have plenty of 24-year-old. I'm having a whiskey bar.
Yeah, we're not talking about whiskey, Michael.
Oh, I get it. I get it. I need to know what you think.
Ooh, that's nice. It's strong, but it's definitely not peaty, which is actually a rarity.
Unpeated.
Yeah, the unpeated is actually a good thing for me because the peated just.
No, I'm not a
makes me-
peaty guy.
yeah.
Either. So Bruichladdich makes very peaty whiskey. It's from Islay, which is that island that's kind of in between Scotland and Ireland. It's still attached to Scotland, but it's that part. Islay, pronounced Islay. This has a honey smell. It's got a honey color.
It clings to the glass. It does the cling test.
It is not particularly alcoholic. Let's see what it is. It's 48.4%. So it's just mildly over alcohol. Mostly they're 43. And it's just the cleanest, nicest flavor. But I got this as a gift because I made the mistake of telling the guys that Marcus was trashing last episode, the ESA. I told them that this was my favorite whiskey in the world, and because they asked me, and a bottle of this showed up at my office a week later with a thank you for hosting us at your E3 party.
So I'll get a horse's head delivered to my thing instead of the consultancy for the ESA, which they should hire me to do.
So this, which has no sugar in it at all, is downright sweet. And again, we don't know how it's made. When Marcus said it has legs, you can see it's running down the sides of the glass. It's thick. I don't know how to explain it, but it's honey, it's sweet. I'd say maybe even a strawberry flavor. It's just got a beautiful aroma.
It's got a gentle burn as well to it. It's got that alcoholic, good alcoholic burn to you that sticks to the roof of your mouth. It's not a bad thing.
It's phenomenal.
It's not overly sweet.
So we're drinking a $400 bottle of Scotch. Most of you probably aren't going to have one of these. This in a bar would probably be $60 or $75 a shot. Truthfully, it's not worth it. You can do a lot better. You can buy 10 bottles of Balvenie for what one bottle of this costs, and Balvenie is great. But again, it's sort of like, you can go from point A to point B in a Ford Escape. You don't need to drive a Maserati or a Lamborghini.
It's obviously kicking in because the
they're
boat's swaying. Or is that me, or is the boat swaying?
No, the boat's swaying.
Oh, okay, good.